Hey, this is Tommy John, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AMP.TV. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those gigantic cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. What also works great on the grill is those half-pound burgers. Half-pound burgers, prime Wagyu, USDA prime Wagyu. If you don't know what that is, folks, you're missing out. Best I've ever had, probably be the best you ever have as well. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give a call and find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, a big welcome in, everybody listening in on our affiliates, CBS, NBC, Fox, whoever, independents, we're all over the place, as well as Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW Cable Television affiliates in select markets, and on Hotel TV in over 550,000 rooms from coast to coast. And you know, it's that time of year for the Midsummer Classic, and that would be the All-Star Game in Major League Baseball and the Home Run Derby. But the biggest question is, look, we see home runs left, right, and center in these home run derbies, and it's almost lost a little bit of its luster. And when you think of Chris Berman calling that home run, back, when you think of that, you almost don't want to say it every time somebody hits a ball, but you wonder, are the baseballs juiced for the home run derby? Right? I mean, pitchers question it. Home run derby balls, I mean, after record, when it comes to home run numbers. And, you know, I'm a former pitcher, and I ask myself, I mean, are these baseballs a little bit modified? I don't know. That's the big question. Is it sour grapes? I don't think so. I mean, look, some major league pitchers will tell you the numbers don't lie. Now, it doesn't matter what publication or wherever you heard it from. I mean, multiple outlets, even the Sporting News, they point to the record at 1,144 home runs hit in the first 2 months of the season. That's a lot of home runs. I mean, not a lot of home runs. Anyway, I mean, look, former Cubs starter Johnny Lester, I mean, you may remember him. He was one of those guys. I mean, we'll take an article back. Let's go back 5 years. Let's try this one. So Johnny Lester told the USA Today 5 years ago, mind you, 5 years ago, that kind of home run speaks for itself, doesn't it? The numbers are through the roof. I think there's something up with the ball. It seems almost like the ones they use in home run derby with the way it flies. Something's up with those, right? By the way, that was a close quote. So mind you, let's go back and look at this. Mind you, the ball has gotten worse, in my opinion, from 5 years ago. But this is an interesting thing when you look at the totals. The totals are the totals. It only seems to get worse and bigger. Major League Baseball, of course, in case you don't know, owns Rawlings, as I understand it. And so Rob Manfred may or may not have the ability to move the performance of the ball or the construction of the ball a particular way to however Major League Baseball sees it. And I don't know, that doesn't seem very fair to me, but then again, who am I? I'm just another person. I don't know nothing. But I do know that that home run ball flies out of the park pretty damn easy. Anyway, think about this. I'm going to stick with this 5 years ago Sporting News because it's sort of relevant today here. Back in the day, it was, quote, chicks dig the long ball, close quote, which became part of a Nike ad campaign featuring Hall of Famers Greg Maddux and Tom Glavine, right? And, of course, Johnny Lester, 5 years ago, told the USA Today, it's all about the millennials. And he said, quote, that's the thing baseball people want to see. All of these homers and how far they went. It gives the millennials something to look at and talk about with all of the stats, the spin rates, the launch angles, and all that stuff, close quote. And you know what? Good for you, Johnny. You couldn't pick a guy off of first base. You couldn't hold a guy on first base. But guess what? You know how to stir the pot. Anyway, Johnny is no stranger to allowing home runs, though. And, of course, look, at that time, 5 years ago, 235 home runs allowed was 10th among active pitchers. 10th among active pitchers. And, of course, he allowed 3 in 2019 in the first half of the season. But of the 232 he allowed up to that point, coming into that season, 71 or 31% have come in the previous 3 seasons. Maybe his performance was dropping off. It doesn't really matter. I mean, other guys back then, 13-year veteran J.A. Happ was 18th on that list with 196 allowed. And, of course, he had given up 7 in his first 6 starts back then. And he allowed 27 in the year previous, tied for 9th in the American League, but well behind the 41 allowed by Dylan Bundy. So, look, Ian Happ in this article told USA Today, quote, I hate to dive too deep into conspiracy theories, but it's pretty wild what's happening. I don't want to take anything away from anybody, but some of these homers that go out, you just shake your head, close quote. Now, one of Ian Happ's neighbors on the home run list is Boston's David Price. This is kind of interesting. He had 197 given up. Price also believed that something was up, literally, and would like to see Major League Baseball say as much, but I don't think that would ever happen. Of course, David even told USA Today, quote, come on, just tell us. We all see it. Just come clean and say it, close quote. Mind you, this was all said 5 years ago, and it only, in my opinion, has gotten worse. So not so, according to Major League Baseball, even though independent testing on baseballs in 2018 determined there was less drag on the ball, and even Rob Manfred said in 2019, quote, they could not conclude why that is, but they did have some theories, which in part were that the baseball is handmade and a product that is almost exclusively made from natural products. The result of that is there's going to be some variations in baseballs. You cannot escape that fact, close quote. All right, Rob, how about this one? Come on, man! What are you trying to do to people? People aren't stupid. There's one fact that you can't escape in the debates, and that Johnny Lester hit a home run on. Quote, coming from a pitcher, it looks like an excuse. Close quote. So with all that said, as I look at the home run derby for 2024, I say, okay, the home run derby, it's a great event. It's fun. I believe that the ball is absolutely compromised. A lot of our baseball long-timers and Hall of Famers, the people that we talk to on a regular basis, that even people that are the guests on the show, some of them don't like the idea that we talk about the baseball being juiced or compromised, but we do it anyway because it's remarkably obvious. You see guys that are 5'0", 100 hitting 450-foot bombs. How does that happen? Well, there's a couple of ways it can happen, but more importantly, if you look back at the 5'0", 100 back in the day, the hell, they weren't even playing baseball. If they weren't hitting power shots. They were singles and doubles hitters. They weren't home run hitters, right? And you ask yourself, how do the little guys hit home runs in the first place? Well, I'll tell you first of all. Now, folks, if you don't know, I'm going to tell you this. You got to try to figure this out on your own as far as the positioning. Now, act like you're holding a baseball bat. Everybody listening to the show, act like you're holding a baseball bat. Look down at how you're holding it. Look at your hands, how they're positioned, right? Go grab a broomstick, whatever it is. Grab a baseball bat if you got one. But I want you to pay attention to how your knuckles are lined up. and then follow through. Pick an imaginary spot or something that would technically be home plate, and go ahead and swing the bat slowly. But I want you to watch your hands, where the hands are positioned, how the knuckles are positioned as the bat crosses home plate. All right, now follow through. Now, most of you likely are lining up your big knuckles and your little knuckles. But what happens is your bat technically is dragged through the strike zone and there's not enough bat speed. Now, here we're going to do something else. Now we're going to rotate our knuckles to big knuckles and big knuckles. All right, it may feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit strange, but I want you to now line your bat up, line your hands up on your bat, or your bat a substitute could be a baseball bat or could be a broomstick. It could just be nothing. Just put your hands up as if you're gripping a baseball bat. Then line up your big and big. Now act like you're swinging the bat real slowly over your home plate target, and watch your hands roll over, right over the strike zone, right over the hitting area, right over home plate. And now you'll see the bat speed actually increases in that hitting zone. And that extra increase in the hitting zone is what generates the bat speed, which makes the ball jump off the bat. Even for the little guys are hitting, because if you look at most of their hands anyway, they don't do that. But what I'm telling you is this is one way that people can hit home runs, or basically harder hit balls, a hell of a lot easier by not dragging their bat through the strike zone. That's one explanation, that is. Anyway, we're going to come back on the Sports Circus in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere. We're going to stick with baseball and home run derby.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door. store without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at uppercutchops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at uppercutchops.com.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Thank you, Roy, and welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, this segment brought to you in part by the American Business Trust Company, helping companies with strategy, sales and marketing, capital resources, and establishing companies with physical locations or on the internet. For more information, contact the American Business Trust Company at 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, 702-799-9935, or email info@thesportscircus.com to be in contact with the American Business Trust Company. 702-799-9935. All right. Big welcome back to everybody listening in on all of our affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome into everybody else all the way across the country, and pick your favorite affiliate all the way over to our friends in Atlanta on the Atlanta Braves Radio Network, WAUD. That's from Montgomery, Alabama, all the way over to Columbus, Georgia. Big hello to our friends also in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus everybody else listening on our independents and from coast to coast and select markets on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW Cable affiliates, and Hotel TV, plus everybody that may be tuning in on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Again, thanks for joining us. All right. So it was the possibility of a juice baseball in the last segment. In fact, we went back 5 years, and we've seen the performance over the last 5 years, and we listened in that last segment about Johnny Lester. Johnny was a pretty good pitcher for the Red Sox and the Cubs. Nonetheless, but he had some really good input, and there were some other pitchers that had some really good input as well. And now we fast forward to 2024, and it seems that we're seeing the same issue. And as I see it, it's more like the manipulation of the baseball by the commissioner's office, in my opinion. Of course, I could say that. It's almost like the Pink Panther rolling up in a big tank to fight the guy that he always fights in the old Pink Panther cartoons. And somehow he comes up with, I don't know, it's not like it doesn't look like the Pink Panther's got a job, but he ends up with these tanks and these guns and these crazy things, kind of like the Coyote and with the Roadrunner. My point is, when we think about the potential of a juice baseball, we say it doesn't really matter who the participants are in the home run derby. You could take the average Joe and put them in the home run derby because they're going to hit home runs anyway. In my opinion, it's a juice baseball. And because it's one of those, well, guess what happens? Anybody can hit home runs. So that said, let's take a look at the field for the 2024 home run derby, right? And of course, again, you could throw just about anybody in there, but Major League Baseball said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and put some of our most popular people in there. And we're going to start with Gunnar Henderson. Now, Gunnar Henderson somehow has 28 home runs through the first 90-odd games, whatever the heck it is, in the regular season. His longest home run is 430 foot, which doesn't bedazzle those that want to see the long ball. And that was back on June 10th versus the Rays. His hardest hit home run, this is stupid, it's 112.3 miles an hour versus the Yankees. Who gives a damn how hard it was hit when it comes to that? The reality is this, that hardest hit, and look, they just shot themselves on the foot right here. The reality is they say, well, the longest home run is 430 foot. Just because it's the longest doesn't mean it's the hardest hit one. Because the hardest hit one, It came about 6 weeks prior against the Yankees, and it wasn't the longest home run. So what is the relevance of how hard the ball was hit versus the distance? It doesn't matter. If it cleared the wall, it cleared the wall. And so MajorLeagueBaseball.com goes on to say, Henderson belted 28 home runs in 2023 American League Rookie of the Year campaign and equaled that number in the first half of the 24 season. Now, how the hell did that happen? Is the baseball compromised? I don't know. Anyway, he'll follow teammate Adley Rutschman and make his home run derby after Rutschman made his first derby appearance in Seattle last year. So be it. Now, we have a titan in today's game when it comes to home runs. This is the home run hitter in the field, the home run hitter. And that would be Pete Alonso. Current home run total only 19, but who cares? Longest home run of the 2024 season so far, 446 foot. And that came on June 4th versus the Washington Nationals. And then it says, well, the hardest hit home run of 2024 was 115.3 miles an hour, coming on May 16th against the Phillies. Again, what we don't see is the hardest hit and the longest home run. They don't align. So again, just because it was hit hard doesn't mean it's going to be the furthest. So it doesn't really matter. Anyway, Pete Alonso, I think he's joining this field because, well, frankly, Major League Baseball doesn't have that kind of sex appeal for the guys that are in there. So they're trying to throw in other people that will draw. And Pete Alonso, look, he's been in this 5 times now, who has participated in each year's competition since 2019, outside of 2020, when there were no All-Star Game festivities due to the alleged COVID-19 scamdemic. Alonso won both in 19 and 21, and with a win this year, he would tie Ken Griffey Jr. for the most home run derby titles since the competition started way back in 1985. Now, Alec Bohm is another youngster that's going to be jumping in here. Now, instead of participating in the home run derby, this third baseman should be participating and taking infield for the next couple of days or so and not making errors over at third base for the Philadelphia Phillies. Instead, now let's throw Alec Bohm in there because, well, he's a young star and he's got 70-odd RBIs so far, blah, blah, blah. Longest home run of 2024, 427-foot, June 30th versus the Marlins. Hardest hit was on June 30th. Actually, it was the same one. He's the only one that actually had the same 106.8 miles an hour, June 30th, against the Marlins. Now, that's the first one so far that actually matched the hardest hit and the longest one. It's only 427 foot, though, in the grand scheme of things. And then, of course, MajorLeagueBaseball.com goes on to say, though he's never been a prolific home run hitter, that's your first red flag, his career high in a season is 20. He definitely has pop. 4 of his 11 home runs this season have traveled 415 or more feet, and 9 of them have been hit with an exit velocity of 101 miles an hour or better. That doesn't mean crap. In today's time, the ones that people pay attention to are those above 110. Nonetheless, Bohm has been a doubles machine so far in 2024, but now will attempt to up his game just for the fun of it. And you know what happens a lot of times? These guys end up with a hangover from the home run derby, and not only are they hitting, in my opinion, juiced baseballs, but also it wrecks their batting. It wrecks it, and you can see there's a home run derby hangover for a lot of these hitters, whether they're home run hitters or singles and doubles hitters like Alec Bohm. Now, also joining the parade is going to be Bobby Witt Jr., arguably one of the best players in baseball. Current home run total is 16. Longest home run of 2024, 468 feet, May 21st versus the Tigers. Now, that's a bomb. Hardest hit one was 112 miles an hour, July 7th against the Rocks. Again, there's the hardest one, the hardest hit home run, not being the furthest. So what's the correlation? So this guy is a local guy. He's from the Arlington, Texas area. He's from a place called Colleyville. Anyway, Witt will have a chance to make his home run derby debut in his own backyard. And after a breakout season, 2023, that saw him produce the first 30-30 campaign in franchise history, Bobby Witt Jr. has been even better this year, earning his first All-Star nod as well. And although this will be his first go at the home run derby, he won the high school home run derby held at Nationals Park in 2018, the summer before he was drafted. And look, he is a very, very good player. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is one of the best players in baseball. If you're a baseball card collector, get as many of his rookies as you can. Now, also participating is Marcell Ozuna from the Atlanta Braves. Sorry, he, of course, because we're on the Braves Radio Network, he gets a nice round of applause. His longest this year, 446 foot, April 12th versus the Marlins. And again, he was one of those guys that his longest is his hardest at 114 miles an hour. I mean, that's a freaking shot. That is a shot. Anyway, another player making his home run debut, his home run derby debut. Ozuna had stepped up in a big way for the Atlanta. That lost Ronald Acuna Jr., as everybody knows, with a torn ACL. Had a number of key hitters take a step back. I mean, the Braves are really scuffling right now, but somehow they're staying in that 8 odd games back of first. Look, the Braves are going to be in the playoffs, period. The question is, who are they going to face in the first matchup? We don't really know. But look, Ozuna is a serious home run hitter, and this guy is one of the favorites for the home run derby. Also, in the derby is Jose Ramirez, not really a big distance home run guy. Jose Ramirez from the Guardians. Of course, I like to call them the Indians, but people get offended by that, so we won't do that. His longest, 436 foot, June 28th versus the Royals. Hardest hit, 109 miles an hour against the Orioles. So again, not the hardest and the longest together. And he had 40 homers in his previous season. Look, this guy's going to step into the spotlight. He's the guy that's just going to clear the wall left and right, left and right. But the guy that I'm looking for is Adolis Garcia. He's hit 17 so far, and he hasn't hit the long ones, but man, can this guy hit them. And this guy is no joke. Adolis Garcia should be the favorite, along with Pete Alonso, in this home run derby. It'll be fun to watch him. Teoscar Hernandez can hit him, but he doesn't hit him at the same magnitude as Alonso and Adolis Garcia. It'll be fun to watch, folks. Make sure you watch the home run derby, and we'll be back in just a few minutes here on the Circus. Lots more to come. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello, Americans. It's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. This segment brought to you by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Yes! All right, and a big welcome back to everybody. You know you are, TV, radio, even on Facebook. Thanks for joining us also. Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure you like and follow. Share your favorite recipes and your favorite restaurants. It doesn't matter whether you're in Chicagoland or not. You could be anywhere, because who doesn't like a good pizza, a good hot dog, a good, a good Italian beef sandwich, good tacos, good Chinese food, good, you name it, it's there. Good stuff. I don't care, even if it's Polish food. How about pierogies? If you don't even know what pierogies are, check them out. If you've never had them, boy, it's good stuff. Lots of great foods in the greater Chicago area, and a lot of those foods have made it around the country. So make sure you go to Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook and like and follow. All right. So it is All-Star time. And, we just talked about the Home Run Derby and the potential of a juice baseball, of course, for the Home Run Derby, and I think even a Major League Baseball. But how about this? How about these starting lineups and the rosters? And, of course, the Yankees are going to start back-to-back in the American League order versus Paul Skeens. Paul, what a great story Paul Skeens is. I've got to tell you, man, this guy is legit. Nonetheless, we'll talk about him in just a moment. But according to CBS Sports, the 2024 Major League Baseball All-Star Game is set, and that's going to be at Arlington's Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers, the world champion Texas Rangers. Of course, the scene was set by American League manager Bruce Bochy of the host Rangers and the National League skipper Torey Lovullo of the Diamondbacks, the two World Series managers from the previous season. As they announced their starting lineups, all starters, the stories are great, but the starters are another thing. And when we think of who is going to start, whether they're long-time perennial all-stars or whether they are first-time all-stars, these managers are very, very good managers. They're going to manage the talent as appropriate, and it's not like the talent on the field is going to overrun the managers, because the managers are managing. That's their job. But, of course, it's up to each manager to determine how the batting order will be structured, given the quality of the hitter at their disposal. It's a challenge, albeit a good problem to have in a kind of way. Now, first, though, the starting pitchers. We already know that Lovullo has tabbed Pirates rookie phenom Paul Skeens to take the bump for the National League. And, of course, Bochy also announced who Skeens' counterpart would be, and that would be Corbin Burnes from the Orioles. And this season, this guy has a 2.43 ERA. Pretty damn good. Across 19 starts with 110 strikeouts, 25 unintentional in 118 and two-thirds innings. Now think about this. While Burnes is now a four-time All-Star, this will mark his first ever starting gig. And the pending free agent in his first season in the Orioles, following a blockbuster trade with the Brewers in the past season. So, I mean, how the Brewers could give him up, I'll never know. But here's something of note. Paul Skeens and Corbin Burns will end the second and third longest All-Star game starting pitcher droughts. Now, in 1946, way back in 1946, it was the Cubs' Claude Passeau. Yes, that's the last time they had a starting pitcher in there. 1975, the Pirates' Jerry Royce. 1980, the Orioles' Steve Stone. 1987, Brett Saberhagen. 1990, Jack Armstrong. And 1991, Jack Morris. So let's have a look at each team's lineup. Who's going to face Skeens and who's going to face Corbin Burns. Now, Skeens is going to face, boy, this is a tough lineup. Mercy. Starting in left field in the number 1 slot is going to be Stephen Kwan. Hitting second from the Orioles at short is Gunnar Henderson. Batting third from the New York Yankees in right field, Juan Soto. Batting cleanup from the New York Yankees is Aaron Judge playing center field. Batting fifth from the Houston Astros, designated hitter Yordan Alvarez. Batting sixth from the Guardians, third baseman Jose Ramirez. Batting seventh from the Blue Jays, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting eighth from the Baltimore Orioles, catcher Adley Rutschman. And batting ninth from the Texas Rangers, second baseman Marcus Semien. Of course, we'll give a nice round of applause. Starting pitcher, of course, Corbin Burns. You know, that is a very, very dangerous lineup. You look up and down that lineup, every one of those guys, even the leadoff hitter who's batting about 360, 361, everybody could take the ball out of the yard. Everybody. 1 to 9. That is a very scary lineup. Now, for Lovello's National League alignment, who's going to be facing Corbin Burns, leading off from the Arizona Diamondbacks, second baseman Ketel Marte. Batting second from the LA Dodgers, designated hitter, show me the money, Shohei Ohtani.
Show me the money!
Batting third from the Philadelphia Phillies, shortstop Trey Turner. Batting fourth from the Philadelphia Phillies and the College of Southern Nevada baseball, first baseman Bryce Harper. Batting fifth from the Milwaukee Brewers, catcher William Contreras. Batting sixth from the Milwaukee Brewers, right fielder Christian Yelich. Batting seventh from the Philadelphia Phillies, third baseman Alec Bohm. Batting eighth from the LA Dodgers, center fielder Teoscar Hernandez. And batting ninth from the San Diego Padres, left fielder Jurickson Profar. Of course, starting pitcher Paul Skeens from the Pirates. And I got to tell you, Skeens really has a tough job with that really, really heavily loaded American League lineup. I mean, the American League lineup, in my opinion, is significantly stronger than the National League lineup. And I think when you're looking at the defensive part of this, the American League, I believe, has a better defensive lineup. I mean, I think they're leaps and bounds better than the National League. You've got a questionable third baseman in the National League. You have a good catcher, not a great catcher, for the National League. You have a decent second baseman in Marte. I don't know. Boy, looking at these head-to-head, I mean, this screams American League. And it screams, the only thing that's going to hold the American League up is for the couple of innings or so that they're going to face Paul Skeens. Other than that, because it's going to be their first time seeing him, other than that, the American League should win this game 7-2 or something to that effect. I wonder what the betting odds are on this. I really don't know. Let's go check it out, because honestly, I think the odds are going to be, if you had to go to the betting, you say maybe I'm going to guess it's like 140, the American League. So you put up 140 to 100. And let's see, Major League Baseball, let's go to odds, just because, and let's see what we have here. Here it is. The American League is minus 120. So you put up 120 to win 100. It depends. Now, that's one organization. I won't call out the names. One organization, believe it or not, has the National League at minus 115, and the American League at minus 105. So it's a 20-cent line in all of these places. Not all of them, but that particular place, I'm here in Vegas, I should run over to that particular property and go place a bet on the American League at minus 105. Better yet, I can get them at even money right next door. So there's the bet of the day. You can get them at even money at one of the casinos and their group. In fact, I'll just call them out. That's Caesar's Palace. So I guess the Caesar's properties, according to the current betting line right now, has them at even money. That's the bet of the day, in my opinion, the American League, all day and twice on Sunday, better yet, twice on Tuesday. I don't see how the American League loses this one, not with that lineup. Those guys are loaded. And the worst one of the day comes at a property across the street from there. They have the American League minus 114, or better yet, it has there's an online one at minus 120. So if you are betting the American League, Caesars, as I see it, is the one to go. And if you're betting the National League, there's an online venue that I won't tell you. You'll have to find it yourself, that you'll get even money with for the National League. Otherwise, you're going to pay minus 120, minus 115, and so forth. If you know how that betting stuff works, basically it means you put up the minus. If it says minus 105, that means you put up 105 to win 100. Minus 120, you're putting up 120 to win 100. Even money is even money. So technically, there are two choices. One, boots on the ground if you have availability, if you're in the casino areas or whatnot, or if you have an online account with that particular organization, you might be able to find it at the right price. Other than that, I don't see how in the world the American League loses this one. I mean, it would have to be a complete disaster for the American League to lose this. So it doesn't matter who you have, whatever side. It'll be fun. It's always fun to watch. But remember, they're not really playing for anything. So you got to think about, hey, are they playing for money? Maybe. That's about it. But there's pride on the line. The American League should run away with this one. Back here in a few minutes on the Circus, and we're going to jump into the standings real quick so we can see who's doing what, who has incentive to play a little bit harder than others, and who's going to be going a little bit slower around the bases. Back in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP.TV. Folks, make sure to check out the sportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, or recorded shows, which are our podcasts in their full entirety. They're not edited. No, it is what it is. We leave it out there. We make mistakes all the time. And guess what? That's exactly what we're doing here. We're leaving them in there just because we can. We don't fix it in the mix. In fact, those recorded shows are available on Amazon, Audible, Spotify, iHeart, you name it, we're there. It doesn't matter. Pick your favorite platform. You can't get away from us. Even Pandora and Google, I think we are available on as well. All right. Also, make sure you check out the partners page at thesportscircus.com. One of our longtime partners that's been with us for quite some time is Al's Number One Italian Beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. If you don't know, you better check them out, folks. They've been in the business since 1938. The inventors of the Chicago Italian beef sandwich, a lot different than the Philly cheesesteak sandwich. This is a serious sandwich. Have to tell you, folks, if you're not in the greater Chicagoland area, no problem. Go to alsbeef.com and pick up your supplies there. Lots of great food. And tell them the circus sent you. Yes! Boy, that's good stuff. All right, welcome back to everybody on our CBS, NBC, Fox Sports, and Independence from coast to coast. Everybody also watching on select markets of Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Time Warner, Oceanic, and WOW Cable affiliates. Thanks for joining us. And in hotels from coast to coast, in upscale hotels and resorts. All right, so it was a lot of baseball, and we're going to finish up with where we're at right now with these teams and what kind of push they can make. You think about trades. We talked about trades ad nauseum, what could happen and so forth. We don't really know, but usually deals are made during the All-Star break. And the question is, looking at these leaders right now, the American League has a surprising number one team. And that would be the Cleveland Guardians. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give them a round of applause, even though they're in the same division as my beloved, horrible, worst team in baseball, White Sox, if you know what I mean. I mean, they're pretty bad. But, hey, I still carry the banner. It is what it is. But you look at what Cleveland has done, and they have steadily played very, very good baseball. And ironically, even if it comes down to Cleveland playing Baltimore, the other team, actually, they're a half a game ahead of them in the standings for the best team in the American League. Cleveland has done very, very well against the East. They are 13-9 against the East. Now, conversely, the Baltimore Orioles are 12-4 against the American League Central. So something's going to give here. I think Cleveland has a little bit more experience. I think Cleveland is a very well-rounded team. Now, both teams are really good. When it comes to home play, though, Cleveland is 30-11 at home versus Baltimore 30-22. And maybe you want to say, okay, well, Cleveland's playing in a weaker division. I'm not so sure of that. Because Baltimore, you say, well, they've got to play the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rays and the Jays. Okay, so you've got some pretty good teams there. And Cleveland has to play the Twins, the Royals, the Tigers, and the White Sox. The White Sox are clearly the worst team in baseball. However, if you look at second place, all right, first place versus first place, Cleveland is 58-37 versus Baltimore's 58-38. Second place in the East are the New York Yankees at 58-40. They're 18 over. Minnesota is 12 over at 54-42. Very good squads. As a matter of fact, Minnesota's played terribly against the American League East, but they've owned the West at 20-6. That's a really, really big number. Kansas City in third place in the Central, a very, very solid Kansas City Royals team. They're 7 over at 52-45. In third place in the American League East are the Red Sox at 53-42. Now, if you look at what they've done against their own division, the Boston Red Sox are, first of all, one game under 500 at home. On the road, they're 12 over. In the East, they're 13-11, and they're 9-12 against the Central. Now, compare head-to-head, the Royals. The Royals are 31-18 at home. They're 13 over at home. On the road, they're not so good. They're 6 under. Against the East, they're only 2 games under 500 at 12-14. They've played very well. What I'm trying to do here, folks, is I'm trying to compare the American League East versus the American League Central. And so far, when you look at them head-to-head, it looks like believe it or not, the American League Central is just as good as the American League East. And that's kind of our exercise here. Now you go down to fourth place. You have 500 team with the Tampa Bay Rays, 48-48. And they've played at home, they're 27-27. On the road, they're 21-21. Against the East, they're 6 games under. And against the Central, they are 1 game under. Against the West, they're 1 game under. So they picked up 7 games against the National League, is what this says. Right? That's pretty good. Now, if you compare them with the Tigers, who are 3 games under, the Tigers are playing 500 at home, 3 under on the road. Against the East, they are 7-7, where Tampa Bay is 6 games under, whereas the Tigers have played 500 ball against the American League East. In fact, even against the American League Central, they're 3 games over. Those 3 games probably came at the expense of the White Sox, but where the Tigers have lost against was really against the American League West. So, pound for pound, except for the last place teams. I mean, look, the White Sox are a million games seemingly under 500 against Toronto, the last team in the American League East. That's a non-factor. Toronto, I wouldn't say they're out of it, but they're damn near close to it. The reality is the American League Central is just as good, if not even statistically a little bit better than the American League East. So don't let the big names fool you. So, I mean, since we're going down that rabbit hole, let's take a look at the American League Central versus the American League West. The Indians, let's go first place to first place. American League, the Indians are 6 games better than, or I can't say the Indians, excuse me, the Clevelands. We won't even call them the Guardians. The Clevelands are 6 games better than the Mariners. Second place, the Minnesota Twins are 4 games better in the win column than Houston, although Houston's been playing very, very good ball lately. The Royals are 7 over versus the Texas Rangers, who are 4 under. Okay, so you take those 3 top teams, and you say, well, what's going to happen? Yeah, the Angels and the A's are out of it. All right, let's go top 3 to top 3. So the Clevelands against the West are 18-7, their first place team. And then you take Seattle is 18-8 against their own division. Seattle is 10-13, or 3 games under against the Central. Imagine that. Okay, now let's take the Minnesota Twins, second place team in the American League Central, against second place team in the American League West. The Astros are 4 games behind, or 4 games less in the win column than the Minnesota Twins. But Houston against the Central has played 10-11 baseball. They're 1 game under. Whereas the Minnesota Twins have owned the American League West at 20-6. They're 14 over. Right? Not a real fair comparison there because it looks like Minnesota is the better team. They're more well-rounded. The third place team in the American League Central are the Kansas City Royals at 7 over versus the world champion Texas Rangers are playing 4 games under 500. And the Rangers against the Central are 3 games over at 11-8. And the Royals against the West are 14-11, 3 games over as well. I'm sorry, folks, but after looking at all of these numbers, you say, well, wait a minute. Who is the better team or who's the better division? Look, statistically, as I just ran through the numbers, head-to-head, division to division, you look at the American League Central, believe it or not, is statistically the best division in the American League. And if you look head-to-head at these teams, the first-place teams, Seattle, Cleveland, and the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles are probably a hair better overall than the Cleveland Guardians. Oh, by the way, who had the number 1 pick in Major League Baseball draft just over the weekend. But it happens that Cleveland as a team has more experience at the key positions than the Baltimore Orioles. Cleveland currently is the best team in the American League statistically, and I think in the long run, their experience will carry them over the Baltimore Orioles. I've got Cleveland representing the American League in the World Series for all the right reasons. Man, these guys play good, fundamental baseball. They know how to pitch the ball. They know how to catch the ball. They don't make a lot of errors. And ultimately, they move runners over. They play small ball. They do the little things, kind of like what Arizona did last year to get themselves in the World Series. And when you look at the American League, we'll do the National League in the next show. When you look at the American League, you say, okay, well, hey, the big bad Yankees. Yes, the Yankees are always there because, well, that's what they do. And the Yankees are playing solid baseball, generally speaking. They own the Central. I mean, the Yankees are 17-2 against the American League Central. So you think back to last year's Titanic matchup with the Cleveland Indians, or better yet, the Cleveland Guardians, and the New York Yankees. And it was Cleveland coming out on top in some of those key matchups. And so I look at the Yankees being lesser because they can't pitch the ball the same way from top to bottom, the same way that the Clevelands can actually do it. I give Cleveland the edge to represent the American League for all the right reasons. And look, they're not playing poorly at home. They're 19 games over at home, whereas the New York Yankees are 6 games over at home, period. On the road, the Yankees are 12 over. Cleveland is only 2 over. That is a big deal. But Cleveland, remember, is 4 over against the East. And the Yankees are huge against the Central, 17-12. But the pitching edge, it always comes down to the best teams playing the best teams in the postseason. So you can beat up on the weaker teams and pad your record. But when we saw, pound for pound, the American League Central is better, believe it or not, as I see it, according to the numbers, than the American League East. That's going to do it for today's show. Next show, we're going to feature the National League, and we're going to take a better look at that. So make sure you come back in 23 hours. We'll talk about that at that moment. Until then, so long, everyone.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.